are technically live. For those of you watching on Twitch, Twitter, and on YouTube, if you give us a quick second, we are going to get a restream going for our folks in Discord. So I'll go ahead and start the countdown now. Thank you for joining us. 1 second. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us and bearing with us through some technical difficulties. Thank you for coming. It's Camera Culture here on Whale. I am joined with Ilascavia. How's it going there, buddy?
Doing all right. You?
Doing well. And we've got a very special guest here in Dunna. How's it going there, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. So we're gonna start with a little bit of fanboy from this guy here. So I want to give you just a little thing about myself and one of the reasons why I felt that you would be perfect to be on this stream. I have been fascinated with photography and videography for years, but I never really followed it as a business or a hobby. I just kind of like let it go and just enjoyed other people's work. Finally, I decided, you know what, I'm going to follow through with this and do my own thing. So I wanted to learn a whole bunch of information about how to do this, how to do that, and really how the heck a camera works. So I obviously did what anyone does, and that is searching the YouTubes and the Googles on how to take a picture, how to work a camera. My first one that I got was and I still have, is a D80, a Canon D80. Love it. It still does me very, very well. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and check this out. Let me search YouTube. Now, of course, I found Peter McKinnon. I found Chris Howe. I found Becky and Chris. And then I came across one of your videos, and that was the whip transition video. I watched that, was amazed, could not believe how simple it seemed. And that just got me binging almost every single video that you have, just about. So yeah, I've been following your work for a little bit, and I know the pictures that you take, and they're amazing. But I know you didn't come from photography and videography. Do you want to tell us a little bit of how you got into the scene? Oh, I think you're muted.
There we go.
Yep.
My bad.
No worries.
Yeah, so originally I was, and still am, a music producer, actually. That's kind of where it all started for me. You know, coming straight out of high school, I went to college and was like, I'm going to be an audio engineer. I'm going to make music, and I'm going to make music for other people and record other people's music. So that was literally what I've been doing for the past, I don't know, since 2007 or so. So it's been a minute. I'm a part owner of a recording studio and music school here in Edmonton, Alberta, up in Canada. Okay. And that's kind of where it was. And what happened that got me to make the transition into photography and videography and that kind of stuff was really more about the setup, the way that I was doing it. So I'm running a studio. People walk through the door. It's a relatively new business. You're trying to pay the bills. We've got a, beautiful location, beautiful studio, and you kind of have to take whatever's walking through the door.
Yeah.
So, someone walks through the door, they put their money on the table, they say, I want you to make me this, pop, country, whatever, like whether I like it or not, whether it's my style or not, I'm making it. And so, as much as I really loved using my creativity that way. And I do love like all sorts of different styles of music. I was always making music for other people. In the end, they get the final say as to what happens. If I think that a song could be better one way and we go back and forth on it, they get the final say on it. And so photography for me kind of started as a way that something that I could do just for me. And then videography kind of came on after that, and the YouTube channel. It was like something that I could do that was creative and fun, and like I got to kind of flex my creative muscle, but it was like 100% for me. I didn't have to listen to anyone. No one else was paying my bills, that kind of stuff. And it's grown from there. The YouTube channel, you know, now is at 172,000 subscribers or something like that. That's now my full-time job. Starting in 2021, I went full-time on YouTube, and it really came down to like the difference between that and my studio work, my audio work, was that on YouTube, every week I get to pick what I do. If a sponsor wants to get on it, or if people, you know, want to subscribe, like they can, but in the end, I've made it so that it really does revolve around what the videos that I want to make, kind of thing. I don't have to cater to anyone or anything. So it was very similar. There were a lot of kind of crossover between my audio work and my photo and my video work in a sense of like how I approach it creatively. But it was more about the ability to make it something that was purely for me. And if somebody else enjoyed it, great. And apparently somebody does, you know?
It's awesome. That's
and,
awesome.
And let's be honest, the pandemic had nothing to do with the transition in 2021.
I wish that was true. So that was, I mean, definitely part of it. The business being a place where, like, you know, bands, I would have a band of 5 people come into the studio and I would have to record them. And all of a sudden that wasn't allowed, or it was very difficult to do, you know, that kind of thing. And so it made sense for me to drop back to, I'm still like part-time at the studio. I do projects here and there, but I've got somebody else who's kind of running the studio for me now. And I'm focusing on this side of things. So it made sense for me, and it made sense for the studio to stop paying my salary and just pay me for the work that I was doing, kind of thing. So it worked out in the end for everybody, which is kind of not something that everybody can say when it comes to the pandemic. I feel, you know, quite privileged in that way, where this situation didn't affect me too badly.
Yes, and I mean, you've been on it, like I said, pre-pandemic, because that's obviously where I saw you. So, the one that I keep on raving about is this one right here. I don't know if you can see me hovering my mouse over it. Make boring videos exciting, 6 speed ramps. That video, again, is 3 years old. You're getting tons of views still on it. But you mentioned that someone else had mentioned that they got they kind of found you on that video as well.
Yeah, totally. I was doing a podcast yesterday, the Coffee with Creators podcast, and he said the same thing. He said that was the video that he found me, you know, a couple years ago, and it was like a part of his like growth as a creator and that kind of thing, and got him involved in the YouTube space and that kind of stuff. So it's cool to see, especially that something like that can still be having an impact. I'm getting ready to make a speed ramping video for DaVinci Resolve here, to kind of update on that. But it's cool to see that, like, a video that's 3 years old is still getting views, and I still get comments on it all the time. And I guess me whipping my camera around and filming my bookshelves was interesting enough to keep people going. And I mean, that says something about art in general, that like, you make something now and who knows when it's going to have an impact. But if you truly like believe in what you're doing, and you truly believe that it can make an impact, then there's always a chance that it will. You know, looking at people who are some of the most famous artists that we know now weren't discovered until after they had already passed away, or after they were too old to promote themselves, or you know, that kind of stuff, which is, I mean, equally as encouraging as it is sad in some cases. But
It's kind of a mantra for almost all creatives. You know, everyone gives. There's times where people are wondering, like, why am I doing this? No one's paying attention. No one's listening, or no one's reading my book or that I published. But just like you said, you never know when it's going to impact someone and lead someone down to a path that they did. And again, I mean, my happenstance. You know, coming across your video there, um, honestly led to it's like the butterfly effect led to me, you know, coming and joining Whale and being big on photography and also just art in general, even with you know, videography. Now, taking a look at your site here, you have your YouTube video, your YouTube site, excuse me. You definitely have a lot of videos, and a lot of them are, you know, about gear, testing lenses, and also even tutorials on how to do certain things within certain programs. You know, you got your Premiere Pro, you know, you're doing DaVinci as well, as you said.
Yeah.
You've given quick tips in the past, but one of the things that I've seen also has been some just even like personal videos out there.
Yeah.
And like this Epic Views one, that
Yeah.
was really nice. And the fact that with how you shot it, it's awesome. And it's the realness that really, you know, spoke to me. And one of the reasons why I kept watching your videos. So, yeah, again, it's not that you know, move around with that many different, like, you know, thought processes, or you're promoting like different things. It's all camera related, it's all video related, it's all photography related, and it's even editing related, which you've, like you said, you've done with audio as well. And here's
Yep.
fix your audio easily. You know, definitely, if you haven't seen this, definitely check it out. And we can post the link down in the stream chat. But you know, not only that, but you've done Instagram as well, and of course, Instagram is mostly photography, highlighting a lot of your home country, which is
Yep.
absolutely beautiful. I
Yeah.
plan on getting up there someday to take photographs, because you and a couple of other people that live in Canada have taken some amazing shots. This one, we all know what this one is,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, what do
Thank
you
you.
when you're doing like nature photography like this right here, or even the one of you just sitting down drinking a coffee, or this, like, what goes through your mind when you're like framing a shot, getting the shot ready to go?
I mean, so for me, the photography and specifically like the landscape photography that I've fallen in love with more lately is partially about the adventure to get there, you know,
Hmm.
and the part that people don't see, like that shot of me sitting on the mountain sipping a coffee. It's like that was a 4 hour hike up a mountain, right?
Wow.
And so part of it for me is the journey to, like, you know, to be kind of cliche or whatever. It's like I really am enjoying that photography in itself, and the way that I do it is this kind of built-in like adventure machine. If you want to
Hmm.
get that photo of that place, you have to go through the steps that it takes to get there.
Yes.
And so it's really given me an opportunity to explore a lot more, and to get into hiking, and to get into, you know, being out in nature more, and that kind of stuff. But as far as like once I get up there and I'm, you know, trying to set up to kind of decide, I think light has a lot to do with it. Where is
Okay.
the light? What's looking good? And I really just like, you know, I might as well do this and look around, because I just kind of think of it as if I'm looking at a frame, and what would look good in, you know, X kind of shape. So if
Okay.
I'm looking for Instagram, which obviously like is pushes that 4x5 vertical kind of thing, I'm thinking of like, okay, what fits in that frame, and then what can I put in the foreground? What can, you know, I'm looking at the different layers. So you know, for the example, the one that you've got up, obviously there's the rocks in the foreground.
Yes.
And if you click the over I think that was a slider thing there, but there should be a
Yep.
couple of frames there, and it'll show you the full thing
Oh,
on the third one there.
wow.
So you've got the big mountain in the background, and I'm a center framing nut. So I put lots of things. If I see a big mountain, I want it right in the middle in the center.
Yeah.
But with this one, again, like I'm sitting, this is in front of the Fairmont Lake Louise, which is like a super busy touristy spot in front of a hotel kind of thing. And right behind that rock on the left-hand side, there's a little cabin that where they do like canoe rentals and stuff. So I'm standing,
cool.
I'm standing out in front of the Fairmont Lake Louise, and I think, okay, where's the light hitting? And it just happened to be on this one part of this mountain. You can see the sun star. The sun is like just poking out, which means that I was in a crazy hurry to try and get this before the clouds covered it up.
Yes.
So I set up, and I'm like, oh, I don't want all the people and that cabin in there, because then it doesn't look like, it looks like you're in a tourist spot instead of like out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. So I got the camera nice and low so that I could use that rock to cover up that cabin, rather than, I mean, I could just Photoshop it out if I wanted to, but I thought that would be kind of more interesting to try and get it out in the initial thing. And it worked out really well, because then you've got that extra kind of foreground element of the rocks and the water really close to the camera, and it gives you that kind of sense of depth.
Yeah.
So it's like things like that I'm looking for, and it's the difference between just like, you know, the person next to me who walked up to the same spot with their iPhone and just like at eye level snapped a quick photo that they're going to post on their Instagram, versus like just really taking the time and thinking like, how does this fit? How does what I'm seeing fit into the frame?
And what you want to display. Yeah.
Well, I was also just thinking that as you walked us through the rationale, how you took the picture and the experience behind it, it adds an additional sort of depth and element to the picture itself.
Yes.
And how much of that are you actually conveying to the consumer? Because if you're on the Instagram, I can see, oh yeah, Lake Louise, but it doesn't have all that like rich history behind it.
Yeah.
And I know that some artists are experimenting with adding more of that inspiration to NFTs.
Yeah.
To kind of create that journey. And I want to kind of get your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen a lot of that in NFTs as a, I mean, kind of as a like marketing, I don't want to call it like a marketing tactic, because it is like, I mean, I just told you guys that story, and like, it was a natural thing to talk about and that kind of thing. So it's not like a grift or anything like that, but it is a cool way to kind of give people more than just the photo. They get inspired by the story of the photo. You know, looking at someone like Cass Samard, who did the Free Hawaii project, and that photo, like it's a great photo, but like I think what really sold that whole project was the whole story behind the fact that the photo had been stolen so many times, and so then you know, once it gets sold, it's going to be Creative Commons and all that kind of stuff. Like it's the NFT space is really interesting because of that, because it kind of goes a little bit beyond just the photo. If I made a print of this, I could maybe slap a written story onto the back of it or something, or like have that as a side sheet for the person
it's like an
to
extra.
buy. But like it's cool that you can now do that in the digital space that we all live. You know, and you can have somewhere to kind of tell those stories, and that's a part of why I think people are making the decision to buy certain pieces of art. And there are all sorts of different types of collectors. Some people that care about that stuff, some people that are more investing in the person than they are in the art. You know, they think of it more maybe as an investment. They think this person is going to, you know, blow up and get more popular, and then their purchase is going to increase in value or something like that. There are all sorts of different kind of angles to it, but I do really love that kind of ability to, or not necessarily the ability, because that's always been there, but the fact that it's becoming more central to tell the story around a photo, or more than I had ever seen when I was just posting my photos to Instagram anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
yes, exactly.
The idea that I was thinking about, because that story just came out so naturally and just literally took us on that journey, is the fact that NFTs allow for unlockable content that the owner has access to.
Yeah.
Like you actually telling that story as like an audio file that they can overlay while they're enjoying their picture, that would be a phenomenal element that
Yeah,
you could
definitely.
introduce.
You're going to make me mint this later today, aren't you?
Only if you want to, but remember, you got the idea from me.
Yeah.
So,
We'll have to
I,
do a
I mean,
split on it.
but it does. I mean, it leads actually, very well to a question from Fabio that we had, which was, we see the great pictures, we see the amazing landscape photos, we see all the different elements of it, and you just had said, the story behind that one photo, but like there are some people and there are some places that aren't really inspiring. Have you like how would you find a place or a thing to shoot when you live in an area that isn't that inspiring? Like what have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, I mean, what you're looking at right now, even like,
Yep.
is just my hometown, and I think people get a lot of, or not hometown, but the place I live in
Yeah.
Edmonton, and I think that a lot of people get kind of disenchanted with what they're used to seeing. And I
Okay.
think that trying to step out of that mindset is really the key to it.
Yes.
Because we've all seen gritty photos that we thought were great, and we've all seen really
Hmm.
clean, beautiful photos that we thought were great, and photos of old, dilapidated cars that are stuck on the side of the road that we thought are great. And so it's like
Yep.
anything can be kind of beautiful if you're willing to take yourself out of the mindset of like, I see this every day and it's boring now.
Yeah. I
The
mean, look at, I
first
mean, the one that I have here is a perfect example of that. I mean, it's just a side of a building with windows, but if you see that every day, you might just overlook it. But now
Yeah.
having it, captured still, you're able to see that the windows aren't even like even.
Yeah.
It's got like a little texture to it.
Yeah,
And
totally.
so, yeah, and that kind of, in the reflection of the other building in place gives it that little interesting factor to it. So yeah, I mean,
Totally.
it's perfectly on point with what you're saying.
Yeah, I've got this kind of like this hashtag or something in the back of my mind where I think of things, and I've got some like designs up for some
Yeah.
merch coming up, but it's like fresh views. And the
Okay.
the mindset of fresh views is like being able to look at something that maybe isn't awesome, or doesn't come across immediately as something that could be beautiful or whatever, and
Yeah.
trying to see it through fresh eyes and try and come at it from a standpoint of like kind of curiosity
Yes.
and kind of like almost like a childlike look. So to like in search of fresh views is the whole thing, and it's like being able to walk down the street that you've lived on your whole life but
Hmm.
see it through kind of a fresh lens,
Yes,
pun
definitely.
intended.
Um, yeah, and I mean, taking the fact that you are also big on audio, which led into videography as well,
Yeah.
and the photography side of things. Um, you know, giving a little sneak peek of the pieces that you have minted so far out on Foundation. There are some of these photos that you've put some music on top of.
Yeah,
Um,
so
yeah.
when I first started to get into NFTs, the first thing that came to mind is that there are so many amazing photographers that are already kind of doing this, and
Yep.
how is a collector going to decide between this other landscape photographer and me, or
Yes.
what are they kind of investing in, what are they looking for? And I really wanted to do something kind of unique in that sense. So there are two on there, Mountain Move and Exhale,
Yep.
that
These
I
two.
decided to kind of meld my skill sets, and I created not only custom music to go along with the photo, but also like a soundscape. So when you listen to it,
Yes.
when you look at the photo and then you listen to the audio, the idea is that there's music to accompany the kind of feeling that I wanted, the emotion that I wanted to convey with the photo, but
Which is, yeah.
also there's a soundscape to go along so that you almost like feel like you're there. So when you listen to this one, you hear the birds chirping in the background and the water slightly, just
Yeah.
kind of trickling and that kind of thing.
Eh,
I just wanted to do something kind
yeah.
of unique, and something that would kind of make my page stand
Yeah.
out, as well as just using my skill in music that I have, that not a lot of other photographers might be able to do anything like that. And I still haven't seen anyone else doing this specific kind of combination.
Yeah, and it tells a story in itself. So, I mean, obviously, unless you provide a story of like how a shot was taken or whatever, if someone is resonating with a piece and it has music on top of that, which the artist is trying to convey, what feeling that they would like, the consumer or the purchaser to feel, it gives it its own chance to be able to, um, you know, have an experience that's personal for the person that owns it. Now, I mean, you could say it could be leading if you did like a dark and gloomy landscape and you did some eerie sound music or whatever.
Yeah.
But there could be some surprises in play. Now, I'm going to try to play this. I don't know how it's going to come out, everyone that's listening, so bear with me. This is the piece, but there is the audio, so I'm going to try to play it here so we can listen. So is this audio, is this music created by you?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is literally like me staring at this photo and being like, what does this make me feel? How can I make a piece of music, a custom piece of music? I didn't like take the photo and then make the music and just like slapped them together. It's
Yes.
like I made a piece of music just for this photo. So, what we heard there, I think is just coming through the mic. So it's not quite as clear
Yeah,
as it
sorry.
could be, but no, that's okay. So if anyone wants to check it out, head over to the foundation page, but it's, for this one specifically, I wanted something pretty minimal, something super chill, like as if you were standing there and you could, I mean, the piece is called Exhale. So it's like you're just breathing through and you're just like feeling the breeze. So when you listen to it, you can hear the breeze and the water, and I wanted it something minimal. So it's just kind of like strings and piano, that kind of like soft relaxation that you would get if you were in a location like this. So it's really all very custom made. And the other one that I did, the Mountain Move, is a lot more like it's a train track, and it looks like you're going on an adventure. So yeah, just up to the right there. And it's like the music that goes along with it is much more like an alternative kind of like rock band almost, but I used train sounds as part of the music as well. So there's like the chicka 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 chicka.
Okay.
Yeah, you can play it here.
I'm gonna go ahead and play it real quick. And again, for everyone listening, it is the sound coming through my speakers, through my mic. So I did post a link out on YouTube and on Discord of the first one that we listened to. But you can also find this one by searching through it as well. But let's go ahead and give it a shot. All right. Yeah, it's nice. I like that.
So yeah, it's got a little bit more of that kind of like adventurous rock band kind of like cinematic sequence type of thing going on, and that was really the goal. When I looked at this photo, I was like, it feels like I'm standing at the front of a train and we're going on an adventure into the mountains, and that was the vibe that I got. And one of my favorite things about that piece is if you listen really closely, you can hear the
train
of the train kind of as the drum beat of the song too. So that was a fun one to do.
I also like the fact that for this one as well, like even just the picture itself, the fact that it curves off to the left, but it's so faint back there that it's not distracting enough that it's part of the main piece, but it's like, where are you going? Where does that head off to? Just like you said, the adventure.
Well, it also wouldn't be centered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, this is really nice, and the fact that having music implemented within photography, and especially with an NFT, like you said, it gives you that feeling that you want to convey. But it's also just an added bonus, you know. I mean,
Yep.
like right now, we're just staring at a great picture that could be, you know, awesome in itself. It's just that little cherry on top that's really nice.
Yeah, it's just something extra. I mean, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with
Yeah.
the story. It's like I basically added an audio story to go along with it, you know, or like an emotion to go along with it. The same way that a story gives you a feeling or an emotion and kind of, you know, makes you feel something along with the words that you're hearing. The audio is supposed to kind of do the same thing. It's supposed to give you kind of one more contextual layer to go along with the photo. So it's just kind of my own unique spin on telling a story with my photo. Although
Yeah,
I didn't put that together until now, but that's kind of essentially what I was doing at the time.
that's when
And
it's the
no, this is
best.
not therapy.
This is yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, given that you have such great landscape photography, have you ever explored or experimented with more live action or animal scenes or the like? Because I heard you mention Edmonton earlier, and
Yeah.
it's not exactly close, but it's close enough to Calgary. And I know
Yeah.
Stampede happens every year, so I
Mhm.
figured that might be an interesting experience. But I'd like to get your thoughts on at least your approach to all that.
Like as far as like, are you talking about like the sports photography kind of thing?
Not
Like for
necessarily
the
sports, but like more like animals, events, but things like
gotcha.
that that are trying
Yeah,
to capture humans with a backdrop of nature and landscapes. So
gotcha.
I
Yeah, I mean,
figured,
I've done a little bit of kind of street stuff that might fall into that category, but I'm a bit of an introvert in that. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of photographers probably say the same thing, but I don't end up in those situations a lot. And kind of earlier when I was talking about how, you know, photography is kind of an adventure machine for me. I end up adventuring away from people, not towards them. And so that hence why I end up with the kind of landscape stuff. And I do have like a couple of like more kind of wildlife stuff, but as far as like being in like big spaces with lots of people and taking photos of that kind of stuff, I haven't done a whole lot. I mean, maybe if you scroll way back on the old Instagram, there might be some stuff from like farmers markets or something. But
yeah.
the cool thing about photography though is like I wouldn't take that off the table. If the moment felt right, or if somebody asked me specifically to like come out and take photography of an event or something like that, there's nothing in my brain that would say no to that. I would just be like, sure. It's just not like what I gravitate towards immediately. And I mean, as you can see from the Instagram there, it's like there is kind of a variety. I don't think I've really settled on like what kind of photographer I am. You know, like a lot of people are known for one thing or another thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Instagram specifically performs well when it's photos of me because of the YouTube and because I'm kind of the personality behind the whole thing.
Yeah.
So photos of myself end up performing well, and so I do a little bit of that. But lots of coffee stuff, lots of product stuff, lots of most recently the landscape stuff as I learned to kind of adventure more. But yeah, nothing's off the table.
Yeah, and I noticed, like, I mean, you've you say like landscape has been kind of newer, but also going back to, you know, videos that you've done in the past on YouTube, it's always seemed to be a part of your shtick anyways. You know, you may
Yeah.
not be showcasing it as much, you know, in videos or stuff like that, but I've always seen, you know, these pictures that, you know, that I'm scrolling through right now, of landscape, and honestly, that's one of the reasons, between you and like people like Peter McKinnon or something like that, the landscape stuff has always been wonderful to me. Now, I know that a lot of people have their own ideas or thoughts on, you know, types of styles of photography, and that's what makes photography scenes so amazing. Like, there's people that just prefer candid shots, that prefer street photos. I know Whale Shark is big on street photography,
Yeah.
but like landscape photography never, to me, never gets boring, because I grew up just south of Philadelphia, and so I was in a heavily urban area, and I moved up to Vermont where I am now, and it's so 180 degrees from what it is. I still get baffled to this day when I'm driving and I see a mountain, and so that's what gravitated me towards your work in particular, because you kind of were like in the same scenario as me, and I've always yes, I have tried to mimic you, and I have been a little bit of gotten a little bit of imposter syndrome from like other people's works, trying to like judge them against my own. But at the same time, it just pushes you to do more, to do better, to get an angle just right. Have you ever like felt that, not necessarily like imposter syndrome? Well, yeah, I guess imposter syndrome. In anything that you've done, photography, videography, or audio?
Oh yeah, regularly. I think everyone does. If
Yeah.
anyone tells you that they don't, they either have something figured out that I want to talk to them about, or they're lying to you
Yeah.
to put on a facade. But yeah, like I mean, we all naturally, I think, compare ourselves to others, and can have the chance to kind of get down on ourselves about that. But I think what I would encourage people to try and do if they're feeling that with their photography or videography or whatever it happens to be, is try to, like, instead of use that as like an emotional trigger, try to use it as information to get better. Like if I saw a photo of yours and I was really inspired by it, there are two ways that I can kind of choose to react to that. I
Yeah.
can either choose to react to it and be like, I'm not good enough, like they're so much better than me, kind of thing. Or I can choose to try and analyze what you did and add that to my toolkit for the next time that I go out shooting, kind of thing. And I think that's like an important part of my journey as well, is that I'm a lifelong learner.
Yeah. Same here.
I
Same
always
here.
said that, yeah, and I think in the photography space there are a lot of people like that. I
Yep.
always said that if I could just stay in college forever and just like be constantly taking new stuff, that would be great for me, because I just love like absorbing information, and
Yeah.
that's really what I think drives me to learn new things all the time, is this kind of curiosity for new information and new techniques and
Yeah.
new skills and that kind of thing. So I think that's what, when I start to feel that kind of thing where I'm like the imposter syndrome, or
Yep.
the like, when I start to feel emotions around other people's work, I try to flip it into something that I can learn from, rather than something that I'm kind of emotionally reacting
Yes.
to. And then it turns it into something positive, and I get better, and I can be excited for that person that
Yeah.
I'm seeing, rather than like feeling some kind of scorn towards them or whatever,
Yeah. No.
because I want to
Yeah.
be stoked about my fellow creators who are making stuff,
I actually experienced that within the NFT world recently when I made my very first digital art NFT from a photo, um, back in last April. Actually, I minted it on my birthday, and it was out for sale. Like, I just threw it up as the very first one I ever minted. And one of our the artists that we have on here and that we've featured before, that's in within our vault, Reinhard Schmidt, um, bought it. I was like completely flabbergasted, because I didn't expect it at all. But and I'm like his work is amazing. And so when I asked him, like, why did you buy that? Because I was like, he's like, it spoke to me. It's awesome. Like, the description that you had really really reached out to me. And this work really touched me. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. I'm not gonna say anything negative about that, because that's amazing. But again, it was like that was just probably about 2 months ago, so it was on for like almost a year and a half.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I kind of feel what you mean by that, because it's helped me with my own imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like you said, lifelong learner. And if I'll never master anything, because I just want to learn new things, new tricks, and just to always keep my brain going. But that leads me to my next question, though, which is, being a lifelong learner, the NFT space, NFT photography. How'd you get
Yeah.
started? We already showed some of the work. How'd you get started? What are your plans? Are there any questions that you have that you want answered?
Yeah, I mean, so NFTs are still a funny thing. I like to use the phrase optimistic but skeptical, because it's still such a new thing, and because it's such a like financial thing for a lot of people. Like there are collectors, and it is like really heavily into the art space and stuff right now, but it's also like this financial institution where people are investing and trying to make money and that kind of stuff. So it's something that I am currently kind of learning a lot about.
Yeah.
And I think that there are some really cool things happening, but I'm also like kind of keeping smart about it. And I encourage other people to do that as well, and not just kind of dive in too quickly.
Yes.
But what really got me into it was so some people might remember when the CEO of Instagram came out and said, we're no longer a photo sharing app,
Yes.
which was like,
It's like, wait a minute.
yeah, it was a bit of a wake up call for me, not necessarily to stop using Instagram. I still like the platform, and I'm still going to share my photography there, but it was a bit of a little like reminder that I should be considering what else I can be doing with my photography. And I was getting to the point where I was starting to feel really comfortable with how things were turning out. You know, I was taking photos like the one that you have on screen and kind of being like, I feel like this stands up to some of the stuff that I see being sold as prints or being, you know, featured in magazines and that kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm like somewhere near that level there. And like, obviously I take my own thoughts with a grain of salt, because it's, you can kind of trick yourself into thinking that you're better or worse than you are. So, but I was just like, okay, what else can I be doing with photography? And I started looking into maybe selling some prints or like I said, kind of trying to reach out to some magazines that feature this kind of art. And at that same time, I ran into a friend of mine, Matt Littlewood in Banff, and he started telling me, actually, he introduced me to Pete O'Hara, who talked my ear off about NFTs for the night. And it was the first time I had met him, and it was like the first conversation we had. And I said, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. And it was like pretty shortly thereafter where I was like, this is cool. This is like a cool new thing that I can do that is essentially the equivalent, the like new age equivalent of selling prints. Like, why not? Let's give it a go. So I picked, I ended up doing the soundscape photography, as I like to call it, first, to try and kind of break out with something new and different. And then I did mint a bunch of just photography as well. And so that was kind of my foray into it. It was kind of just like a question of like, what else can I do with my photography outside of just like sharing it online and using it as examples in my tutorials or in my videos and that kind of stuff. Like, where else could this be going? And so, I mean, I don't think I've done a particularly great job of marketing myself in that case,
man.
in that basically I just like minted a bunch of stuff, threw one tweet on my Twitter about each of them, and like sometimes I get caught up posting in shill threads and stuff like that. So this is something that is now kind of the next step for me. It's like I feel like I have a catalog up there. I'm doing things like, you know, this interview. I'm trying to plan for doing like, you know, more Twitter Spaces to kind of promote the stuff now that there's some stuff up there for collectors to see. And so it's really, I think the next step is really about putting it out there as much as I can in a way that feels authentic, and just connecting with people. And this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with both the imposter syndrome and with like the fact that your stuff might not make an impact right away, but that doesn't mean that like your piece, you said your piece was up there for about a year, and then all of a sudden it was gone. You know, it was sold.
Total surprise to me. I woke up and was like, wait, what?
And I think it's hard when you're on Twitter and you see, you know, people like, oh my God, I just sold out my collection and you know, that kind of stuff. And it is hard not to have the imposter syndrome, but like just remembering that like if you're truly believe and if you're bullish in your own stuff, you know, then like just keep promoting it, and eventually the right person will find it and want to pick it up. And also, like, I went into this fully knowing that, like, there's always a chance that, like, I never do enough promotion or
Yeah.
it never falls on the right eyes. And so, like, I didn't put in any money to mint these or to list them that I wasn't willing to just, like, let them sit there, you know, like,
Good.
it's,
Yeah, that's good advice too. NFA, not financial
yeah,
advice.
not financial advice, but
Sorry, that's Elskavia's realm.
Yeah, that's a different show. But what I was going to say is that you do have a little bit more of a following and presence than you think you do if you're completely discounting the massive amount of subscribers you have to your YouTube channel.
yeah.
So while you're saying that, oh, you sometimes get on the show threads and you need to be authentic, but you've got this massive platform that you've already built up, and it's just a matter of leveraging that to your greatest advantage.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually been a really interesting thing too, in terms of the marketing, is like, if you build up, you know, I've got, I think, just over 10K on Twitter, and I've got my 27K on Instagram and that kind of stuff, but they're not used to me talking about NFTs.
Yep.
So when I started talking about it, there are some people, I mean, the NFT haters so far that are like, they've blocked, you know, anything that has to do with NFTs, and they're unfollowing people. And so I am trying to kind of bring it to light in a way where I'm first of all, I'm being honest that I'm also learning about this. I'm not trying to come across like I'm an expert all of a sudden and this is all I'm going to talk about. But also, I don't want to make a second account to talk about NFTs. I want to be able to talk about them as if they're just like one of the many things that I do.
Yeah.
And so then bringing it up, like I said, kind of in an authentic way, has been really interesting, and trying to kind of gauge the reaction from my current audience, and try to leverage it if I can, but also realize that it's still so new that out of that, whatever, 172,000 on YouTube, how many people actually know what an NFT is? Like, I posted especially the first bunch of posts that I made about, like, minting my first pieces and stuff like that. I got so many, like, what the hell is an NFT responses and stuff. And that brings up, like, kind of a cool thing that I'm eventually going to make a video on my channel, kind of explaining my experience. And I want to do more stuff like this in both spaces and kind of tie the spaces together. And what I really hope, and just to be fully transparent with everyone, what I really hope is that being someone that does help to try and bridge those spaces shows my value in the NFT space to collectors, you know? So, like, if they see that I spent the past 5 years building this audience on YouTube, building my Instagram, building my Twitter, and then I'm bringing some of that into the NFT space, also it shows them that I'm willing to take the time that is necessary to make myself valuable to the people that are out there, and hopefully that means that that, you know, collectors will see that and see the value in having my art in their collections.
So it's also a nice balance that you could have. I mean, we've already gone over that your YouTube channel has videography stuff, photography stuff, editing things, audio items, some personal stuff too, and so, you know, you don't want to, because NFTs are mainstream wise still very, very new. I mean, to you right now, I can see that you went on there and created that on September of 2021. You're already an old man in this space. As weird as that sounds, no,
it's like dog years.
Yeah, right. So it's a good way, like you said, to introduce a concept that not a lot of people do know about. You're not pushing it like I'm all NFTs now and this is, you know, the future. And, you know, we do that ourselves here in Whale, but because we believe it. But we have that audience that also believes the same. So having your YouTube channel already created and utilizing the space alone to just kind of like slowly introduce people into it as you're introducing your own self into it is actually it's a really nice thing. And like you said, it not only shows other people that, you know, you're willing to do this, but it also shows the that you're able to step out of your comfort zone. And that's what you've always, you know, said, you know, through this interview, is just stepping out of your comfort zone and doing things that, you know, you're not too comfortable with, but also being humble and honest enough with your viewership, that they don't think that you're all of a sudden a massive pro at it, you know?
Yeah.
Because just like you said, you having to explain what the hell an NFT is to other people that don't understand it or have never heard of it, it's a long slippery slope. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
totally. It's really interesting to have those conversations too. And I feel like right now I see a lot of people that are like you said, like all in NFTs, and that's all they talk about, and that kind of
yep,
stuff. And that's cool if that's what they want to do. And then there are people who have no idea and they're not sure if they want to get into it or if they should, or maybe they're like anti NFTs or
yeah,
whatever.
well, yeah,
And I feel like what I'm excited about is starting to bridge that gap and find the people who are in the middle, like myself,
yeah,
where it's like I have no intention to like quit YouTube and like go
yeah,
full-time
no,
NFTs, and I've done this before. I
yeah,
had a full-time job. I was a music producer and audio
yeah,
engineer, and on the side, I made some YouTube videos and
yeah,
gradually, slowly built that up
exactly,
until it got to a point where it could kind of take over the full-time position. And not that I'm saying that NFTs will
yeah.
be the new version of
This
that,
is
but like it's cool to have like the stability of something that you've built, and
yep,
then have like little side projects that are fun as well, and you can spend some time building that up and invest in the community without having to necessarily be only doing that. That's
yeah,
amazing that so many people are able to do that. You know, you see
yeah.
the tweets where it's like, I'm quitting my job and going full-time NFTs. Like that's
I know.
amazing. If you can do that, that's so cool for you. And that
Yeah.
is not necessarily where I'm going with this. And I think I'm excited to see more people where it's like that for them too, where it's like this cool
Yep.
side thing that or addition to whatever they're already doing, that
Yep.
they can also promote and be a part of the community and add value to the community.
Exactly.
And kind of, yeah, again, bridging that gap between kind of the two extremes that we see so much of.
Yeah, and it's like the NFT photography channel within our Whale Discord server. I mean, we opened it up, and you've been a part of it, and have posted things in there. But we want NFTs are great. They're it's awesome, but there's also a learning aspect too. Not just NFTs, not just blockchain, not just crypto in general, but also photography, videography. We want that. We have that channel to be like an inspiration for other photographers that are most likely thinking about it, to get questions answered from other people that have had success, or even getting best practices or workflows. We've posted, or people have posted, like special apps that they use when they do photography, and it's not shilling anything, particular project. Now that does happen, but they get deleted right away.
Yeah.
But that's the point of the space, and that's what I like about your concept, that while you're still doing YouTube and things like that, you're delving into the NFT space. You're learning as you're going. You're going to share your knowledge. You're not going to give up totally, but at the same time, you are utilizing it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What I think it boils down to is actually something that you mentioned, but not explicitly, is that this is a journey that we're all on together at different points in time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you talk to most people, they're like, "Oh, my journey started," and they can cite when they first got into crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's actually really telling that you want to help your followers go on this journey. You're trying to help them get into it and start it. And if you can help them in some way, shape, or form, I love the fact that you see that as more valuable than trying to get them on the journey to then support you, because that, I think, is very much in the spirit of the whole space, that we're all in this together and we're all trying to help each other get on this journey and get to the same point in time.
Yeah.
And that's Nightmare actually brought something up. Understanding the need to bridge audience is key. He even posted, we've seen so many people assume their existing followers, subs from socials, would follow them into the NFT space, and that's not often the case. So
Yep.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I had that experience for sure, where I thought that I was going to. There's something in the back of my mind where it's like, I think in the front of my mind, I knew that wasn't necessarily going to be the case, but there was something that, like, where you kind of feel like maybe I can bring some people over, and it really felt like starting over again, which was kind of cool to some extent, like to kind of start from zero, and also really interesting to see the parallels between starting in the YouTube space and starting in the NFT space. And I think that there's a lot of really interesting, like I said, kind of parallels between the two, and the community side of it. And like you mentioned,
Yes.
the photography channel that we've got in the whale Discord there, and like people sharing their work and people sharing tips and tricks and stuff like that. It's like there are groups in the YouTube space, whether it be on Discord or in Reddit or anything like that, where people are doing similar things. Like this is stuff that I've kind of seen before. It's just instead of it being attached to my YouTube channel that's about photography, now it's attached to the NFT photography space, and it's really cool to see like the community kind of work together. And I think that what a lot of people could take a tip on, like we were saying there a minute ago, it's like the idea that making the community better and adding value to the people
Yes.
around you
Yes.
actually is good for your own, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
brand or
Definitely.
your personal thing. And that's the way that I think the people who are most successful on YouTube have done it and figured that out, is that instead of trying to sell all the time,
Yep.
if you just add value to the community, people will buy eventually. Like that's
Exactly.
that's that's the
Well,
that's
it
the kind of
could-
way that it works. And I think
Yeah.
that I see similar things in the NFT community, where the people who
Yes.
are really succeeding are the ones who seem to be adding to the community, adding value to the community.
Yeah, and the especially like within our server, the community is huge. We've always gone by whale fam because there's a lot of people that are new that are coming in, and we just want people to feel comfortable in the space. I know when I joined myself, I knew nothing about the space, but that's a whole different topic. But yeah, no, it's great. The way to share information and not hoard it all for yourself is a way is a great way for your own self to grow and learn, because saying something out loud after just doing it for so long actually does help you out.
Yep. Yeah.
So, well, we are on the hour. Is there anything that you want to promote, say, do? Where can they find you on Twitter or?
Yeah, pretty much everything is /Dunna did it. So if you find me on YouTube or
Okay.
Twitter or Instagram are kind of my three main socials, and then dunnadidit.com if you want kind of a main hub.
Yep.
And then obviously on Foundation as well, if you want to check out some of the stuff that I've minted. I don't have anything on OpenSea quite yet. I'm working on something. I'm thinking about stuff. So
Yeah,
but yeah,
no.
it's all /Dunna did it if you want to check it out.
Yeah, and congratulations again on getting into the space and learning, and on the success of your YouTube channel and Instagram account.
Thank you.
We everyone blow it up. Send some support on Foundation for Dunna, and yeah, spread the word. So
Thanks so much.
no problem. Hilascabi, do you have anything else?
No, I just want to say thank you for joining us and sharing your knowledge and journey with us. And it's been a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been awesome.
All right. Well, have a good one, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day.
Have a good weekend, everyone.